Germany 1, Argentina 0, extra time, Maracanã. For Brazilians, this World Cup is a sensitive subject, but the final itself was a very competitive game, played on equal footing. The Germans were coming off a big win in the semi-finals. That's all I'll say and move on. The Argentinians had Messi trying, but without the brilliance of the 2022 World Cup. Normal time 0-0. Higuain missed a one-on-one chance that would have made him historic. It went to extra time, and then a German substitute named Mario Götze came onto the field. In the 113th minute, he received a cross in the area, controlled it with his chest, and finished into the corner. Why did Germany win in 2014? Because they were the best-trained team in the entire tournament. They didn't have a star like Messi, but they had 11 players functioning like a well-oiled machine. When the team is strong, the final is often decided by who comes off the bench. Brazil 2, Germany 0, Yokohama, Penta. Those who lived through it remember. For those who didn't, it's the World Cup that Brazil won with almost no effort. Ronaldo Fenomeno had finished the 1998 World Cup emotionally broken. He returned to football, suffered serious knee injuries, and was sidelined for years. When he was called up for the 2002 tournament, many people doubted he would be able to handle it. He finished as top scorer. 8 goals, and the 2 in the final, scored in a Japanese stadium that was half empty compared to the European ones, were his. That ridiculous little tuft of hair on the front of his head, and the smile of someone who had returned from the dead. Why did Brazil win in 2002? Because they had the most decisive attack in the tournament, Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho Gaucho, and they faced a group that paved the way. More than that, it was Ronaldo's personal redemption. The guy who had disappeared on the field in the 1998 final came back and delivered the trophy to Brazil. A lackluster final? Yes. But Brazil came away as 5-time champions, and that's what remains. Brazil 0, Italy 0. Brazil wins on penalties 3-2. Pasadena, the first World Cup final in history decided by penalties. Brazil hadn't won a World Cup in 24 years. The pressure was immense. Romario and Bebeto had been the attacking force of the entire tournament. The baby's celebration. But the final was a different story. Suffocating heat in California, a very tight game. It went to extra time. It remained 0-0. It went to penalties. Baresi, Italy's captain, missed the first. Massaro missed his too. Brazil scored theirs, and then came Roberto Baggio, the best Italian player of the tournament, to take the last one. He shot over the goal, over the bar. The image of Baggio dejected in the center of the field became one of the most well-known photos in football. He carried that burden for the rest of his career. Why did Brazil win in 1994? Because of defensive consistency and composure in penalty shootouts. It wasn't the beautiful football of 1970, but it was the most solid team in the tournament. 4-time champions. A generation that broke a drought. Brazil 3, Czechoslovakia 1, Santiago, 2-time champion. But with one important detail, without Pelé. Pelé had been the star in 1958. In 1962, he only played 2 games before getting injured and missing the rest of the World Cup. And that's where the most underrated story in Brazilian football comes in. Manuel Francisco dos Santos, better known as Garrincha. Without Pelé, Garrincha decided to carry the team single-handedly, dribbling in that strange way nobody understood, with his crooked leg that seemed to hinder him but was actually his secret weapon. The opposing defenders would go one way, he'd go the other, and nobody really knew how he did it. Czechoslovakia opened the scoring in the final, but Brazil came back with goals from Amarildo, Zito, and Vava. Why did Brazil win in 1962? Because an improvised player became the best in the world at the exact moment the team needed him most. Garrincha in '62 is probably the best individual performance in a World Cup before Maradona in '86. And it's a final that few people outside of Brazil really remember, which is unfair because Garrincha deserved it more. Uruguay 4, Argentina 2. Montevideo, the first final in history. And it has a curious detail that's worth knowing. Uruguay and Argentina couldn't agree on which ball to use. Each country wanted the ball manufactured in its own territory. An improvised solution, the first half was played with the Argentinian ball, the second with the Uruguayan ball. And what a coincidence! Argentina was better in the first half, making it 2-1. In the second half, with their own ball, Uruguay turned it around to win 4-2. Did the ball make a difference? Probably not as much as it seems, but it shows how much that first World Cup was still rudimentary, almost amateurish. Why did Uruguay win in 1930? Because they were the best team in the world at the time. Two-time Olympic champions in 1924 and 1928. They were playing at home, in the newly built Centenario Stadium for that World Cup. They were at the physical and technical peak of an entire generation. It was the first Jules Rimet trophy ever raised. Uruguay made history and has never left. Italy 4, Hungary 2, Paris. The last final before World War II brought football to a standstill for 12 years. The Italy team of 38 was practically the same as the one of 34, with the same coach, Vittorio Pozzo, the only coach to win 2 World Cups to date. No one has repeated this feat. The most curious story about this World Cup isn't in the game itself. Because of the war, Italy held on to the trophy for 16 years. The FIFA vice president at the time, an Italian, hid the trophy under his bed in a shoebox throughout the Nazi occupation. He saved the trophy from becoming a war souvenir. Why did Italy win in 1938? Because of the continuity of the Pozzo project. Same structure, same principles, more experience. When you get the basics right, repeating is easier than starting from scratch, and it's a final that almost nobody remembers today. But it's the last chapter of football before the world stops.